Okay, this is lesson 8, dividing polynomials. So we know how to add and subtract polynomials. You should know that from Algebra 1. We should know how to multiply them also. So now we're talking about dividing polynomials, which is similar to factoring. Remember factoring? Remember how we used to factor trinomials and break them apart? But we figured out what the factors were just by maybe a method like Xbox or something like that. Or X factor, depending who your teacher was. Today we're doing division of polynomials, but we're going to actually explicitly divide a problem that's given to us using long division. So you need to know the process of long division. This is some prior knowledge. So let's say you had a problem like this, 400 divided by 3. Okay? Remember doing a problem like this back in the day? Okay? We ask ourselves, how many times does 4 or 3 go in the 4? Only goes in once, then you go 1 times 3 is 3, so you put the answer here. Subtract remainder of 1, bring down the next one is 0. How many times does 3 go into 10? It goes in 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9, right? Bring down the next problem, it's also a 0. 3. And then you get to this point, 3 times 3 is 9. So this is an important part, look up here. Then you add this number at the end. This is called what at the end? Remainder, right? We used to put R. But when you write the answer, this is really like the answer is 133, and then we take the remainder of 1, we copy it down, and then we do a fraction bar, and then we take the divisor and put it right underneath. Remember this? Okay. This is the concept. You should know how to do this process. Now we're going to apply it to long division of polynomials. Okay. So, here we go. Here are the steps. Identify dividend and divisor. Set up the long division problem in descending order with the missing terms as well. And divide, and if a remainder exists, leave it over the divisor. Okay. And the big idea is just dividing a big complex problem. Take your time and stay organized. Okay. So here we go. I'll show you how to do 2 of them, and then we'll go through the remainder of them. Okay, so number 1, we got x cubed minus 16x squared plus 69x minus 90 divided by x minus 10. So the first thing you want to do is set up your long division problem, so just watch up here for now. So you need a lot of room when you do these. X cubed minus 16x squared plus 69x minus 90. All of this divided by x minus 10. Okay. Alright, so that's the first thing we're doing, setting up a long division problem. Then you want to look at the leading term in the divisor, or the divisor, yep, which is x, and then we ask ourselves, how many times do you have to multiply it? What do you multiply with x to get x cubed? That's what I have to ask myself. So then I know my multiplication really well, so x times x squared will be x cubed, right? So then I'm going to go above the x squared term, put x squared, and I will start multiplying it out. We got x squared times x is going to be x cubed, so I write that underneath. And then I do this again. X squared times negative 10 is negative 10x squared. Okay, and then I have to be really careful. Then I put parentheses around my answer, put a subtraction sign, and I subtract this very carefully. X cubed minus x cubed cancels out. Okay, negative x squared minus negative 10x squared is negative 6x squared. Okay, then I bring down the next term, which is the plus 69x. Okay, then I ask myself again, starting with the x term over here, what do I multiply x with to get negative 6x squared? I multiply it by negative 6x. So then multiply it out, negative 6x times x is going to be negative 6x squared. Negative 6x times negative 10 is positive 60x. And then I have to put parentheses around the that answer, subtract it. And really the goal is to cancel this first 2 terms out. So negative 6x squared minus negative 6x squared cancels out. 69x minus 60x is 9x. Okay, bring down the last term, which is negative 90. Okay, Then we ask ourselves, what do I multiply this x with to get 9x? Positive 9. So I put positive 9 at the top, then I multiply it out. Positive 9 times x is positive 9x. Okay. Oh, sorry, not too much. Then we have positive 9 times negative 10 is negative 90. Then I put parentheses, really important, you put parentheses working slowly like it was a subtraction problem. Remember when I made you work it out vertically, you see that? 9x minus 9x, 0. Negative 90 minus negative 90, 0. So in this case, there's no remainder. So then you would rewrite your answer as 6x squared, or I'm sorry, x squared minus 6x plus 9. That's your answer. You box it, okay? Sorry, I went really slow on that because I wanted to make sure I explained that whole thing. Okay, again, what did I do? We're going to do one more. I'm going to talk about it one more time. I'm going to go quickly. Ready? Shh. I'm going to do one more, so quiet down. Again, what did I do? First thing I did is I set up a long division problem, put the dividend inside the long division problem, and then put the divisor on the outside. Ask myself, what do I multiply x with to get x cubed? X squared. Multiply that out into this binomial. Parentheses, subtract, you get negative 6x squared plus 69x. Then I did that again. We multiply negative 6x times x to get negative 6x squared, multiplying it out. Subtract, you get 9x, and then you bring down the final term, multiply that by positive 9. And then we get this final term, and there's no remainder. Okay? Do you see the similarity to long division? Yes or no? Okay, good. Let me do this one more time so you see the process again. I'm going to go slower this time. Or not slower. Definitely don't want to go slower. I'm going to go faster now, okay? Here we go. So number 2. I'll draw a line here for the sake of dividing it. First thing I'm going to do is make this a long division problem. So I'm just going to write x minus 2, long division. We got x to the 4th plus x cubed plus 2x squared minus 24x plus 8. Okay, and then I'm going to start my long division process. What do I multiply x with to get x to the 4th? X cubed. X cubed times x is x to the 4th. X cubed times negative 2 is negative 2x cubed. Parentheses, subtract x to the 4th minus x to the 4th. Cancels out. X cubed minus negative 2x cubed is positive 3x cubed. Bring down the next problem or next term, positive 2x squared. What do I multiply it with? X times 3x squared. 3x squared times x is 3x cubed. Then we got 3x squared minus 2 is negative 6x squared. Parentheses, subtract 2x squared minus negative 6x squared is positive 8x squared. Bring down the next problem or next term is negative 24x. What do I multiply x to get 8x squared is positive 8x. 8x times x is 8x squared. 8x times negative 2 is negative 16x. Subtract 8x squared minus 8x squared cancels out. Negative 24x minus 16x is negative 8x. Bring down the final term, positive 8. What do I multiply x to get 8x? I'm going to multiply by negative 8. So negative 8 times x is negative 8x. Negative 8 times negative 2 is positive 16. Now this one's a little bit different. Look at what happens here. This one, the 8x's cancel out, but 8 minus positive 16 is negative 8. So now I have a remainder. So this is what you do with a remainder. Write the final answer is just x cubed plus 3x squared plus 8x minus 8. And then look what we do with the remainder. We're going to do plus. Since our remainder is a negative 8, we're going to do minus 8 over our dividend of x minus 2. That's it. Okay? Is this a lot of work? Yep, it is a lot of work. So, number 3. And help you out in case you're not getting it. So we need to rewrite the whole thing as, start with x minus 4 on the outside. And we got x cubed minus 8x squared plus 22x minus 24. So again, you guys and girls need to be writing this in your notes right now, not on your iPads, okay? Because this is a lot of work. The iPad is not a good idea right now, okay? And then when you're done, we're gonna write the final answer, okay? So just to start you off, always take the leading term in the binomial here, and ask yourself, what do you have to multiply with x to get x cubed? What do y'all think? Let's do this. X squared, good. So since x squared is here, we're going to put x squared here, and then we multiply it back out. X squared times x is x to the 3rd power. And at this point, you should know that you did it correctly because you got x cubed here, which is, you need to have the exact same term here, right? Y'all see that? And then we have x squared times negative 4 is negative 4x squared, okay? Then we put some parentheses around that answer and subtract it from the 2 terms above. X cubed minus x cubed is 0. It cancels out. And then we have negative x squared minus negative 4. X squared is? Good, okay. Then you bring down the next term, which is positive 22x. Okay, what do we do next? We ask ourselves, what do you multiply x with to get negative 4x? What do you think? Negative 4x, good. Put that at the top. Negative 4x times x is negative 4x squared. Negative 4x times negative 4 is positive 16x. So you got negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16 times the x. You see that? It's good questions because you have to be really detail oriented. Go slow, okay? Some of you are like, I got to do this. You know how we said not to work out the problems in your head? Can you work this out in your head? Nope, not going to happen, okay? So, negative 4x squared minus negative 4x squared. That cancels out. That means I did it correctly. 22x minus 16x is 6 what? Good. Bring down the next term, which is negative 24. Finish up my problem, and then I want you to write down your final answer on the boards. Ready, go. Subtract 6x minus 6x is 0. Negative 24 minus negative 24 is also 0. So there's no remainder here, so you just rewrite that final answer as x squared minus 4x plus 6. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, good. Let's have you do one more. This one's on your own now. Do this on your papers, not on your iPads. Just show me your answer on your iPads. That's all I care for. Okay? I'll give you like 3 minutes board just so you know if you got it right or not. So we got n plus 7 as the divisor. I'll draw a line here so it doesn't get all mixed. Okay, here we go. 8n, n plus 7 8n cubed plus 64n squared plus 48n minus 56. Okay? Here we go. What do I multiply n with to get 8n squared? I ask myself. You multiply it, 8n cubed. You multiply by 8n squared. 8n squared times n is 8n cubed. 8n squared times 7. This is where I think you messed up copying from now. Is positive 56 n squared. then subtract 8n squared, or 8n cubed minus 8n cubed is 0. 64 minus 56 is 8n squared. I think you put a minus sign someplace in there. Okay. Plus 48n. And we ask ourselves again, what do I multiply n with to get 8n squared? Positive 8n. 8n times n is 8n squared. 8n times 7 is positive 56. N, parentheses around that, subtract 8n squared minus 8n squared is going to be 0. 48n minus 56n is, what is that, negative 8. Then bring down the last term, which is negative 56. Okay, and n times negative 8 is going to be negative 8n. Negative 8 times positive 7 is negative 56. Subtract negative 8n minus negative 8n is 0. Negative 56 minus negative 56 is also 0. So there's no remainder. So then your final answer is going to be 8n squared plus 8n minus 8. Okay? Everyone who showed me an answer at the end that got to the end did it correctly. Okay? I'm going to end the lesson there, but the big picture idea, you have to stay organized. You have to be very careful when you multiply, add, and subtract. Okay? Because a little minus sign could change the whole answer, and you just messed it up. And it's such a long problem, you have to be very careful. So that's part of the reason why I'm like, you can't do it in your head. You got to show all your work. You got to show all your work, and you got to do it very carefully and precisely. When you get up to higher level math, it's about being precise. That's the skill level you're learning now. It's not so much of like, oh, I'm just close enough. No. Got to be precise, okay? So that ends the lesson. So what I'd like you to do now is turn to your neighbor, explain these questions.